Growing up in the dilapidated neighborhood of Eastbrook, every day was a reminder of the struggles that defined my family's life. The peeling paint on the walls of our tiny apartment, the creaky floors, and the constant hum of the nearby factory were all part of the backdrop to my childhood. Yet, amid these modest surroundings, my dreams were anything but small. My name is Liam Carter, and from a young age, I harbored a single, unshakable belief. I was destined for something more than the life I knew. School became my refuge, a place where I could escape the constraints of my environment and let my ambitions soar. I excelled academically, not just because I wanted to prove others wrong, but because I found genuine joy in learning. Liam, you've got your head in the clouds again, my mother, Linda, would say as she shuffled through her part-time job paperwork at the kitchen table. Her voice, though weary, always held a note of pride whenever she mentioned my grades. We're proud of you, but you need to be realistic. Dreams don't pay the bills. I looked up from my textbook, meeting her tired eyes with determination. I know, Mom, but I have to believe there's a way out of here. If I work hard enough, I can make something of myself. I just need to keep pushing. My father, Tom, was often out of work, contributing to the strained atmosphere at home. He would mumble his frustrations under his breath as he fixed old appliances or tried to patch up the broken fixtures in our apartment. The world doesn't care about your dreams, son. You've got to be practical. We all have to work hard just to scrape by. Despite their skepticism, my parents' efforts were the foundation of my resolve. They worked tirelessly to provide for me, and I knew their sacrifices were my driving force. I channeled my energy into my studies, striving to excel in every subject. The day I received my acceptance letter from Harvard was a turning point. I burst into the living room, holding the envelope high. Mom, Dad, you're not going to believe this. Linda looked up from her sewing machine, her eyes widening. What is it, Liam? I got in. I'm going to Harvard, I exclaimed, barely containing my excitement. Tom set down his wrench, wiping his hands on a rag. Harvard. That's incredible, Liam. But how are we going to afford it? I've got scholarships and financial aid, I said, my voice brimming with optimism. It's all coming together. This is my chance. As I packed for university, my parents stood by, a mix of pride and apprehension in their eyes. Just remember, Liam, Linda said softly, hugging me tightly. You're our hope. Don't let us down. I won't, I promised, feeling the weight of their expectations and my own aspirations intertwining. Harvard was a world away from Eastbrook, filled with opportunities and challenges. I poured myself into my studies, particularly in business technology, a field that fascinated me with its potential to create change. My professors were impressed with my drive and ingenuity, and I began to see my dreams take shape. I dedicated countless hours to developing a concept for an online school, believing it could democratize education and offer opportunities to those who needed them most. One evening, as I sat in my dorm room, working on the initial designs for the online platform, my friend and roommate, Mark, looked over my shoulder. You're really going for this, huh? An online school? I nodded, focused on the screen. Yeah, it's my way of making a difference. I've seen too many people like us struggle because they didn't have access to the right resources. Mark grinned, shaking his head. Man, you're something else. I've never met anyone who works as hard as you do. I smiled, appreciating his support. Thanks, Mark. It's all part of the plan. I know it's a long road, but I'm ready to take it. As graduation approached, I was filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The vision I had nurtured for so long was finally coming to fruition. My online school was ready to launch, and I hoped it would be the first step toward a future where I could make a real impact. That summer, standing on the threshold of a new chapter, I looked back at the life I was leaving behind and felt a surge of determination. My journey was just beginning, and I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, driven by the ambition that had always defined me. The first few months of launching my online school were a whirlwind. There were moments of doubt and exhaustion, but the exhilaration of seeing my dream come to life kept me going. My online school, which I named Bright Horizons Academy, started as a modest platform offering a range of courses in business technology. But as word spread, the enrollment numbers soared beyond my expectations. In my small office, cluttered with papers and coffee cups, I looked at the latest metrics on my computer screen. The growth was staggering. I leaned back in my chair, taking a deep breath of satisfaction. This is really happening, I murmured to myself. The phone rang, breaking my reverie. It was Claire Thompson, a prominent investor I had met at a tech conference. Her voice was enthusiastic as she spoke. "Liam, congratulations on the success of Bright Horizons Academy. I've been following your progress, and I'm impressed by what you've built. I think we should discuss an investment opportunity." I tried to keep my excitement in check. "Thank you, Claire. I'd love to discuss it. When are you available?" We arranged a meeting for the following week. When she arrived at my office, I was both nervous and thrilled. Claire was a well-respected figure in the tech world, known for her keen business acumen. Her presence felt like a validation of my hard work. After a detailed presentation and discussion, Claire leaned back in her chair, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Your vision is impressive, Liam. I see a lot of potential here. If we proceed with this investment, we could scale up rapidly and reach a global audience." I nodded eagerly. "That's exactly what I'm aiming for. With your support, we can expand our course offerings and enhance our technology to provide an even better learning experience." Claire extended her hand, smiling. "Then let's make it happen." With Claire's investment, Bright Horizons Academy entered a new phase of growth. We expanded our team, upgraded our technology, and launched new courses. The success wasn't just in numbers. It was in the feedback from our students, who appreciated the accessibility and quality of our education. One day, while reviewing some course evaluations, my assistant, Jenna, walked in with a cheerful smile. "Liam, you've got to see this. We've been invited to speak at the Tech Innovators Conference next month." I looked up, surprised and delighted. "That's incredible. We've only been operating for a year. How did they hear about us?" Jenna shrugged, her eyes twinkling. "I guess they've noticed our impact. It's a big opportunity for us to showcase what we've built." The conference was a significant event, attended by leaders and innovators from various industries. Standing on the stage, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. As I delivered my presentation, detailing the success and future plans of Bright Horizons Academy, the audience's reaction was overwhelmingly positive. After the presentation, I was approached by several influential figures in the industry. One of them, Robert Grant, a well-known entrepreneur, shook my hand with a grin. "Liam, that was an impressive presentation. I'm looking forward to seeing where you take this next. If you need any advice or connections, don't hesitate to reach out." I felt a wave of gratitude and validation. "Thank you, Robert. Your support means a lot." Back in the office, the energy was palpable. My team and I celebrated our achievements, knowing that this was just the beginning. As I looked around at the faces of those who had supported and believed in the vision of Bright Horizons Academy, I felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. The success of the online school brought more opportunities, but it also brought new challenges. Balancing growth with maintaining the quality of education required constant vigilance and adaptability. Yet, every milestone, every positive review, and every new partnership was a testament to the hard work and dedication that had shaped Bright Horizons Academy. As I prepared for the next phase of expansion, I knew that the journey was far from over. But with a strong foundation and a growing network of supporters, I felt confident that Bright Horizons Academy would continue to thrive, making a meaningful impact on students around the world. Life outside of Bright Horizons Academy was a mix of routine and monotony. My days were packed with meetings, strategy sessions, and occasional bursts of celebration for milestones achieved. Despite the success, something was missing. I longed for a connection that went beyond business, something genuine and personal. That change came unexpectedly during one of my regular visits to a cozy little restaurant near my office. It was a place I frequented for its comforting food and laid-back atmosphere. One evening, I was absorbed in a stack of reports while nibbling on a meal when she walked in, Elina. She was a waitress with a warm smile and an easy grace about her. Her presence was a breath of fresh air amid my usual routine. I noticed her almost immediately as she moved with a natural elegance from table to table, her laughter occasionally reaching my corner of the restaurant. One evening, I was working on my laptop when she approached my table. "Hi, I'm Elina. Can I get you anything else?" Her voice was soft yet confident. I looked up, momentarily startled by her directness and charm. "Actually, yes. I could use a refill on my coffee, and maybe some recommendations for your favorite dish here." Elina's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Well, if you're in the mood for comfort food, the lasagna is a big hit, but if you want something lighter, the salmon salad is fantastic." I nodded, impressed by her knowledge. "I think I'll go with the lasagna. And thank you for the recommendation." As she turned to leave, I found myself watching her. There was something about Elina that intrigued me. It wasn't just her looks, though she was undeniably beautiful, but her genuine, down-to-earth demeanor. Over the next few weeks, I found myself visiting the restaurant more frequently. Our conversations grew longer each time, moving from casual chit-chat to more personal topics. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, I sat at my usual table, and Elina noticed the exhaustion in my eyes. "Long day at work?" she asked, setting down a steaming cup of coffee. I sighed, gratefully accepting the coffee. "You could say that. It's been a whirlwind of meetings and deadlines." Elina smiled sympathetically. "I get it. Sometimes you just need a break, right?" Her understanding made me relax a little. "Exactly. It's nice to have a place like this to unwind. And I've got to say, you're a big part of why I keep coming back." Elina blushed slightly, looking pleased. "I'm glad to hear that. I enjoy our conversations too." That evening, as I left the restaurant, I hesitated, feeling an impulse I couldn't ignore. I turned back and approached Elina, who was wiping down a table. "Elina, would you be interested in joining me for coffee sometime? Outside of work, I mean," I asked, my heart racing slightly. She looked surprised but smiled warmly. "I'd like that. How about this weekend?" We arranged to meet at a nearby cafe. Our date was a delightful mix of laughter and conversation, where we discovered common interests and shared stories about our lives. Elina's openness and genuine curiosity about me made me feel more comfortable than I had in a long time. As the weeks went by, our relationship blossomed. We continued to meet regularly, and I found myself eagerly anticipating each moment we spent together. Despite my success and the image I projected, Elina made me feel seen for who I truly was. One evening, while walking through a park after dinner, I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace. Elina looked up at me, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the streetlights. "You seem happy lately. What's changed?" I took her hand, squeezing it gently. "It's you, Elina. You've brought something into my life that I didn't even realize I was missing. You make me feel like I'm not just defined by my work." Elina's smile widened, and she leaned in closer. "I'm glad I could be a part of that." Our connection deepened, and with every passing day, I realized how much I wanted to share my life with her. The more time we spent together, the more I knew that Elina was someone special, a person I could truly build a future with. By the time I was ready to take the next step, I was certain that she was the one I wanted to spend my life with. But first, I needed to take a leap of faith and make our relationship official in a way that matched the depth of my feelings. Planning the proposal was a task I approached with a blend of excitement and meticulousness. I wanted it to be a moment Elina would cherish forever, a perfect blend of romance and personal significance. After weeks of deliberation, I decided on a hot air balloon ride. It was both adventurous and intimate, and it promised breathtaking views and a sense of isolation from the world below. The day of the proposal arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze, ideal conditions for our hot air balloon ride. I had arranged for the basket to be decorated with flowers and candles, creating a cozy and romantic atmosphere. As we ascended into the sky, I could see Elina's eyes light up with wonder. "This is incredible, Liam," she exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. "I've never done anything like this before." I smiled, my heart swelling with affection. "I'm glad you're enjoying it. There's something magical about seeing the world from up here." The balloon floated gracefully, offering panoramic views of the rolling countryside below. We chatted and laughed as we drifted higher, and I could feel the anticipation building within me. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I decided it was time. I led Elina to the edge of the basket, where we could take in the view together. I took a deep breath, my nerves giving way to a sense of calm certainty. "Elina," I said softly, turning to face her, "I've been thinking a lot about us and about our future. Every moment with you has been incredible, and I can't imagine my life without you." Her eyes widened slightly, and she looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and love. "Liam, what are you saying?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. As I opened it, revealing a sparkling engagement ring, I felt a rush of emotion. "I love you more than I ever thought possible. Will you marry me?" Elina's reaction was immediate and heartfelt. Her eyes filled with tears as she gasped, "Oh my God, Liam." "Yes, yes, of course, I'll marry you." I slipped the ring onto her finger, and we shared a tender kiss as the balloon hovered above the stunning landscape. The moment felt perfect, surrounded by beauty and wrapped in each other's arms. The wedding planning that followed was a whirlwind of activity and excitement. Elina and I decided on an outdoor ceremony at a charming vineyard. It was a place that felt both elegant and intimate, offering a picturesque backdrop for our vows. The day of the wedding arrived with the promise of a perfect summer evening. The vineyard was adorned with twinkling lights, fresh flowers, and elegant decorations. As I stood at the altar, waiting for Elina, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of nerves and exhilaration. When Elina appeared, walking down the aisle in a stunning white gown, I was overwhelmed by her beauty. Her smile was radiant, and the look of love in her eyes made my heart race. Elina's father, who had traveled from a distant location, gave her away with a proud smile. I noticed him looking at me with a mixture of curiosity and reserve, but I was too focused on Elina to dwell on it. The ceremony was filled with heartfelt vows, tears of joy, and moments of pure bliss. We exchanged rings, sealed our promises with a kiss, and were pronounced husband and wife. As we walked back down the aisle as a newlywed couple, the sense of accomplishment and happiness was palpable. The reception that followed was a lively celebration. Our families and friends gathered to toast our union, share stories, and dance the night away. The atmosphere was filled with joy and laughter, and I was grateful for the love and support surrounding us. During the reception, I made a point to speak with Elina's parents, hoping to bridge any gaps and express my appreciation for their presence. Her father, though polite, seemed distant. I attributed it to the long journey they had made and the stress of the day. Later in the evening, as I was mingling with guests, I overheard Elina's father speaking to someone in hushed tones. The conversation seemed intense, and I caught snippets of it that hinted at some unresolved issues. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to his reserved behavior than met the eye. When the evening drew to a close, Elina and I shared a private moment together. We stood on a balcony overlooking the vineyard, savoring the tranquility of the night. Today was everything I dreamed it would be. Elina said, leaning into me, "Thank you for making it so special." I wrapped my arms around her, feeling the deep sense of contentment. It was perfect, Elina. And I'm so glad we get to start this new chapter of our lives together. As we looked out at the stars, I felt hopeful and excited for the future. Little did I know that the events of the night would set in motion a series of revelations that would test our love and our understanding of each other in ways we hadn't anticipated. The reception was in full swing, and the vineyard was alive with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses. The warm summer night air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass. Elina and I were enjoying our time mingling with our guests, and I couldn't have been happier. The day had gone off without a hitch, and it seemed like the start of a beautiful journey ahead. I noticed Elina's parents, especially her father, looking somewhat detached from the festivities. Her mother, though friendly and engaged, seemed to be trying to keep the atmosphere light and pleasant. I assumed the long journey and the excitement of the day had taken a toll on them. As the evening progressed, I made my way over to Elina's parents to check in and express my gratitude for their presence. I approached her father, who was standing by the edge of the dance floor with a drink in hand. "Mr. Thompson, I just wanted to say thank you again for making the trip and for being here today," I said, extending my hand. He shook it with a firm grip but looked at me with a guarded expression. "Of course, Liam. It was important for us to be here." Elina's mother, Helen, joined us with a warm smile. "It really was a beautiful ceremony. You two make a lovely couple." "Thank you, Helen," I said, genuinely touched. "We're really happy with how everything turned out." As the conversation continued, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something unsaid. Elina's father, Robert, kept glancing around the room, clearly preoccupied. "Is everything all right, Mr. Thompson?" I asked, trying to break the tension. Robert's eyes met mine, and for a moment, there was a flicker of something. Concern, perhaps, or hesitation. "It's just been a long day," he said finally. "I suppose I'm just a bit tired." I didn't press further, though I couldn't help but feel uneasy. As the night wore on, I noticed Robert in a heated discussion with a few of the other guests. The conversation seemed intense, but I couldn't make out the details. Elina was caught up in conversations with her friends and family, so I decided to let it go for the moment. Later in the evening, as I was enjoying a quiet moment by the reception's edge, Elina's father approached me with a serious expression. "Liam, could I have a word?" he asked, his tone more forceful than before. I nodded, my curiosity piqued. Of course. We stepped away from the crowd, finding a secluded spot under a canopy of fairy lights. Robert's demeanor was grave, and I sensed that this was not a casual conversation. "Is something wrong, Mr. Thompson?" I asked. Robert looked at me with a piercing gaze. "There's something I need to tell you, Liam. It's about your family." My heart skipped a beat. "My family? What do you mean?" Robert took a deep breath, clearly grappling with how to frame his words. "I've known about your family's background for some time now, and I have to say, I have reservations about this marriage. I have reason to believe that you've been less than honest about your past." The air felt thick with tension. "What are you talking about?" "It's come to my attention that your family was involved in some unsavory activities. I've heard things about financial troubles and legal issues that could affect Elina's future." I stared at him in disbelief. "That's not true. My family struggled, but we worked hard to get where we are now." "Why would you think such things?" Robert's expression softened slightly, but his concern remained. "I'm not saying it's definitely true, but given what I've heard, I think it's something worth investigating. Elina deserves to know the truth about the person she's marrying." I felt a surge of anger mixed with confusion. "Are you accusing me of hiding something from Elina? I've worked hard to build a future for us, and I'm committed to being honest with her." Robert held up his hands. "I'm not accusing you, Liam. I'm just suggesting that you be open and transparent. Secrets have a way of coming out, and it's better to address them now rather than later." I took a deep breath, trying to regain my composure. "I'll talk to Elina about this, but I assure you, there's nothing to worry about. My past is behind me, and I've worked hard to create a positive future." Robert nodded slowly, though his expression remained troubled. "I hope you're right. I really do. but please consider what I said." As Robert walked away, I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. I needed to speak with Elina and address this issue head-on. It was crucial to clear the air before any further damage could be done to our relationship. I found Elina amidst the guests, her face glowing with happiness. I took her aside, away from the bustling crowd. "Elina, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's wrong?" she asked, her brow furrowing with concern. "I just had a conversation with your father," I began, searching for the right words. "He mentioned some concerns about my family's past." Elina's eyes widened. "What did he say?" "He hinted at some financial troubles and legal issues that might affect us," I explained. "But I want you to know that I've worked hard to overcome those challenges, and there's nothing to worry about." Elina's expression shifted from concern to confusion. "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" "I didn't think it was relevant," I said, trying to be honest. "But I understand if you need time to process this. I want us to be open and transparent with each other." Elina took a deep breath, clearly processing the information. "Let's sit down and talk about this properly. I need to understand everything before we move forward." As we walked towards a quieter corner of the reception, I felt a mix of relief and apprehension. This was a crucial moment for our relationship, and I hoped that we could work through it together. The night air was cool, and the sounds of laughter and music from the reception felt distant as Elina and I found a secluded spot under the canopy of trees. The soft glow of the fairy lights cast a gentle, almost magical light around us, but it did little to dispel the tension between us. We sat on a bench, the rustle of leaves providing a subtle backdrop to our conversation. Elina's face was a mix of confusion and hurt, and I could see the weight of Robert's words hanging heavy on her shoulders. "Elina, I know this is a lot to take in," I began, trying to keep my voice steady. "But I want to be completely honest with you about my past." Elina took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the ground. "I didn't know what to think when my father brought it up. I've never heard anything about your past that would suggest you were involved in anything problematic." I reached for her hand, trying to offer reassurance. "There's nothing to worry about. My family did face financial difficulties, and we had our share of struggles. But I've worked hard to overcome those challenges and build a successful life. What your father heard might be exaggerated or taken out of context." Elina looked up, her eyes searching mine for the truth. "Why didn't you tell me about this before? I feel like there's been a part of your life you've been hiding from me." "I didn't think it was necessary," I explained, feeling a pang of guilt. I wanted to focus on the future and not dwell on the past. I didn't want our relationship to be overshadowed by things that were beyond my control. Elina nodded slowly, her expression softening. "I understand why you might have wanted to protect me from the past, but I also need to feel like I know the whole story. If we're going to build a life together, I need to trust that there aren't any secrets." I squeezed her hand gently. "I want you to know everything. I promise you, there's nothing else hidden. I've worked hard to build what we have now, and I'm committed to being open with you." Elina took another deep breath and looked away for a moment, as if collecting her thoughts. "What did my father actually say? Did he accuse you of something specific?" I hesitated, trying to recall the exact details of the conversation. "He didn't accuse me of anything outright. He just mentioned that there were concerns about financial troubles and legal issues in my family's past. He seemed worried that it could affect our future." Elina's face was a mix of frustration and determination. "It sounds like my father is more worried about appearances than the reality of who you are now. I wish he had come to me directly instead of dropping this on our wedding day." I nodded in agreement. "I'm sorry this happened on our wedding day. It should have been addressed earlier if there were any concerns, but we need to deal with this together, as a team." Elina took a moment to reflect, her expression thoughtful. "I appreciate your honesty, Liam. I believe in us and what we've built together. I need to talk to my parents and understand their concerns better. But I also need to know that we can face this as a couple." I gently pulled her into an embrace, grateful for her willingness to work through this. "I'm here for you," Elina. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. As we stood up, I felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. Despite the unexpected challenge, I was committed to proving to Elina and to myself that our future was built on a solid foundation of trust and honesty. The reception continued in the distance, but for now, Elina and I had to navigate this new hurdle. As we walked back toward the celebration, hand in hand, I felt a deep sense of clarity and a renewed commitment to our relationship. The days following the wedding were filled with a whirlwind of emotions. Elina and I had faced a significant challenge, but our commitment to each other and our love for one another had only grown stronger. We both knew that moving forward would require effort and understanding, but we were determined to face it together. It was a quiet Saturday morning when Elina and I sat down in our cozy living room, a warm cup of coffee in hand. The soft morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a peaceful glow over the room. The tension from the previous week had begun to fade, replaced by a sense of determination and hope. Elina, I've been thinking about everything that's happened, I began, looking at her with a mix of anxiety and hope. I know it was a difficult situation, and I appreciate your patience and understanding. Elina looked up from her coffee, her eyes meeting mine with a gentle smile. I've been thinking too. It was a shock to hear my father's accusations, and I'm still processing everything. But I've realized that it's important for us to focus on our future and not let past issues dictate our lives. I agree, I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I want us to move forward and build the future we've always dreamed of. I'm committed to being open and honest with you, and I want us to create a life together that's full of love and trust. Elina nodded, her expression softening. I know, and I want to be a part of that future with you. I spoke with my parents after the wedding, and while they still have concerns, they're starting to understand the person you are now. It's a step in the right direction. That's good to hear, I said, feeling a sense of relief. I hope we can find a way to bridge the gap between our families. It's important to me that they see how much we care for each other. Elina's eyes sparkled with determination. We'll figure it out. My parents need time to adjust, but I believe in our relationship and what we've built together. We've faced challenges before, and we've always come through stronger. Our conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. I opened it to find a delivery person with a bouquet of flowers and a card. The card read, "To Liam and Elina, wishing you both a future filled with love and happiness. From Robert and Jane." Elina's eyes widened as she read the card. It looks like my parents are making an effort to reach out. I smiled, feeling the surge of optimism. This is a positive sign. Maybe they're starting to come around and see that we're building something real. As we arranged the flowers in a vase, Elina's phone buzzed with a message. She looked at it and smiled. It's from my father. He wants to meet with us for lunch and talk things over. He's trying to make amends. That's encouraging, I said, feeling a mix of relief and nervousness. I'm ready to have that conversation. I want us to be on the same page and move forward as a united front. The lunch meeting with Elina's parents was held at a charming local cafe. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, a stark contrast to the tension that had marked our previous interactions. As we sat down at the table, Robert and Jane greeted us with genuine smiles. "Liam, Elina," Robert began, his tone more conciliatory than before. I wanted to apologize for how I reacted at the wedding. I realize now that I should have handled things differently. I nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and gratitude. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate your apology. I understand that you were concerned, but I hope we can move past this and focus on building a positive relationship. Jane reached across the table and took Elina's hand. We've been talking about it, and we realize how important it is for us to support your happiness. We want to be a part of your life and see you both thrive. Elina squeezed her mother's hand, her eyes filled with emotion. Thank you, Mom. I'm glad we're working through this. Liam and I want to build a future together, and we hope you can be a part of that journey. As the lunch continued, the conversation shifted to lighter topics, and we shared stories and laughter. The atmosphere was warm and hopeful, a sign that we were taking steps toward healing and reconciliation. That evening, Elina and I returned home, feeling a renewed sense of optimism. We knew that the path ahead might still have challenges, but we were committed to facing them together. As we settled on the couch, Elina rested her head on my shoulder. "I'm really looking forward to our future together, Liam. Despite everything, I feel like we're stronger than ever." I wrapped my arm around her, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "Me too, Elina. We've faced our share of obstacles, but we've come through them with our love intact. I'm excited about the new beginnings that await us." As the night fell, we sat together in silence, enjoying the tranquility of the moment. We knew that our journey wasn't over, but we were ready to embrace the future with hope and determination.